In the headlines, the murdered West Coast Berbice teenager Harish Singh is laid to rest, and President Irfan Ali vows to bring his killers to justice. 3 persons die from COVID-19 in less than 24 hours, taking the death toll to 7 to 1 as 98 new cases are recorded. A massive hunt is on for a robbery accused who escaped from the Lusignan prison. The deplorable Sheriff Street Mandela Road will be upgraded with asphalt concrete in coming weeks. And in sport, the GFF president Wayne Ford says selection challenges not unique to Guyana as Golden Jaguars prepare for international engagements. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We started by telling you that President Irfan Ali on Wednesday attended the funeral service of Harish Singh, the 17-year-old who was killed at No. 3 Village, West Coast Berbice, during violent protests against the murders of Joel and Isaiah Henry. Singh's funeral was held at the President's funeral home in New Amsterdam. The head of state expressed deepest condolences to the family members gathered and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice.
Today is another one of those sad days in our country as we share the sorrow of this family as they prepare to give Harish his final rites. I've made many statements on this issue. I believe that the Guyana Police Force, with the support that we have requested from the regional institutions and from the British government, would allow us to bring all these criminals who perpetrated these acts to justice. But I think a lot of our focus now, in memory of these 3 young men, has to be on healing. It has to be on bringing our country together. It has to be on unifying our efforts in ensuring that all Guyanese, that our future does not have repeat of these horrific incidents. And as President, I can assure you that my government is going to work day in and day out to bring our people together through policies and programs, to bring our people together through social efforts, merging of culture. I think is important in creating that Guyanese identity, ensuring that social safety nets are there for the vulnerable in our society. We have to do these things in addition to ensuring justice is served for these 3 young men.
A post-mortem examination conducted on Singh found that he died from brain hemorrhage and blunt trauma to the head, compounded by the compression injuries to the neck. Singh of No. 3 Village was found in a bloodied state on September 9 in the back dam hours after he left home on his motorcycle to transport water for his relatives who were working on their farm. He was found unconscious by his 12-year-old brother while his motorcycle was found torched. His relatives remain in shock as he was the sole breadwinner for his grandparents and 2 younger siblings. Now, police are on the hunt for a 23-year-old man who escaped from the Lusignan prison on the east coast of Demerara in the wee hours of Wednesday. Director of Prisons Gladwin Samuels, in a brief report, noted that Leroy Graham, who was on remand for armed robbery, escaped from the facility at around 1:30 hours. The prison director did not say how the young man managed to escape, but noted that he was admitted to the prison on August 20, 2020. Graham's last known address is Middlewalk, Buxton. Anyone with information on him, please contact Lusignan Operations Room on 220-4173 or the nearest police station. The Lusignan prison continues to remain a high-risk area given its overcrowding and recent shooting to death of 2 prisoners who tried to escape last Saturday during a riot. 5 others were wounded when prison officers opened fire on them. The situation escalated after 2 prisoners initially tested positive for the deadly coronavirus. A total of 140 prisoners from the same facility later tested positive. Now, Guyana's COVID-19 death toll continues to rapidly increase, with 2 more persons dying on Wednesday, taking the total number of deaths to 71. The Ministry of Health announced that the latest fatalities are a 70-year-old female from Demerara Mahaica Region 4 who died while receiving care at a medical facility, and a 66-year-old woman from Barima Waini Region 1. This would reflect 6 COVID-19 related deaths in the last 3 days. Tuesday night, a 25-year-old male from the COVID-19 intensive care unit died and was recorded as the 69th death. The 68th victim died on Tuesday. It was a 74-year-old woman from Region 1. On Monday, 2 other elderly persons from Region 1 died. A 57-year-old woman and a 67-year-old man died within hours apart while also receiving treatment. Meanwhile, Guyana on Wednesday recorded 98 new cases, bringing the total number of known cases to 2,535. Region 1 recorded 57 new cases. Region 3 has 3 more cases. Region 4 recorded 9 additional cases, and there are 29 new cases in Region 8. There are 14 persons in the COVID-19 ICU and 988 active cases in isolation, 828 in home isolation, and 160 persons in institutional isolation. There are also 67 persons in institutional quarantine, and thus far a total of 1,464 persons have recovered. When the newsroom returns, the deplorable Sheriff Street Mandela Road will be upgraded with asphalt concrete in the coming weeks, and President Irfan Ali addresses the United Nations on democracy, border, and COVID-19. Stay tuned. This is the newsroom. Months after upgrading works were halted on the Sheriff Street Mandela Road, it has been recommended to the government to have important connecting stretch of road paved with asphaltic concrete by the end of this year. Kurt Campbell reports.
Public Works Minister Juan Edgell has announced that works have restarted on the once stalled upgrade to the Sheriff Mandela Road. The $66 million project, which is funded through a loan by the Inter-American Development Bank, was shut down over non-compliance with environmental standards in November 2019. The IDB had stopped payments to the Chinese contractor for several infringements. While the Committee of Supply considered a $553 million expenditure spent by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure between January to September 2020, Edgell said the project, which started before 2015 when the APNU-AFC took office, should have been completed by now.
This road should have already been delivered. And those of us who drove there to come here today would know that it is still not yet delivered. Since assuming office, sir, I had the opportunity to be briefed on this matter. As a matter of fact, when we took office, there was no work that was being done on this road. And it was not only because of COVID. That was only one of the reasons. The other reason is because of non-compliance with environmental standards. The IDB had to shut disbursements down on this project. It was badly mismanaged. We have since, assuming office, both consultants and contractor and our own project people at the ministry engaged on this, and I'm happy to let the nation know today that work, visibly you can see, work is back there.
Edgell said the paving of the road will be done with asphalt concrete before the end of 2020. He said with the contractor back on the job, 2 other subcontractors are back working on the bridges.
And my understanding is that before the end of this year, you will see paving of the road, the insertion of asphaltic concrete. Just to mention as well, sir, because of the deteriorated state of the road, remedial works had to actually be done before you could even go to asphalting and setting things in stage. So the contractor is back on the job. 2 subcontractors are working on the bridges.
Edgell said any issues with getting specialists from China will be resolved with the Civil Aviation Authority already committing to facilitate specially chartered flights. The project will see the upgrading of one of the most critical road links in the country, one that connects the East Bank to the East Coast. Drainage works, road widening works, and bridge structures are currently being addressed. Edgell was also critical of the APNU-AFC's management of the East Coast Highway expansion, saying that the project is also still incomplete, although it was commissioned by the former government. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
President Irfan Ali on Wednesday addressed the United Nations on a range of issues, including its support for democracy in Guyana, the need to protect institutions such as the International Court of Justice, and the fight against COVID-19. Neil Marks reports.
After addressing the United Nations Monday on behalf of the Group of 77 and China, as it celebrates its 75th anniversary, President Irfan Ali was up again Wednesday, this time speaking on behalf of Guyana during the general debate. This time he acknowledged the role of the United Nations in calling for the democratic process to prevail in Guyana during the country's election saga that lasted 5 months.
My government assumed office on the 2nd of August this year. I take this opportunity to commend the international community, including the United Nations, for defending the democratic rights of our citizens. My government is committed to greater political inclusion and to enacting institutional reforms to ensure that democracy, the rule of law, and constitutional rights are respected. My government recognizes the dignity and worth of the human person and is determined to secure for the country's citizens a higher standard of living.
The President said the General Assembly remains an invaluable forum where small states can make their voices heard and unite for their mutual benefit. He noted the need for organizations such as the International Court of Justice to be protected. In March 2018, Guyana filed its application in the International Court of Justice, seeking an affirmation of the validity of the 1899 arbitral award and the international boundary that it established between Guyana and Venezuela. Guyana now awaits the determination of the court on whether the court has jurisdiction to proceed to hearing the merits of the case.
Now more than ever, we need a resurgence of political will and commitment to protect multilateral architecture and institutions, including the International Court of Justice. Guyana reposes confidence in this institution. We are committed to the rule of international law, inclusive of the peaceful resolution of disputes.
The President also touched on COVID-19, noting that the pandemic is reversing gains on health, poverty and education, saying a strong multilateral system is required for collective action to stem the pandemic.
More than ever, the resolve of the United Nations is being tested, and it is evident that no single country can overcome the debilitating effects alone. This reality must inform the trajectory of the United Nations so that it can support the efforts of developing countries to rebuild and to become more resilient.
The President acknowledged the support of UN agencies in Guyana's response to the COVID-19 crisis. He said Guyana trusts and supports the efforts of the UN system to ensure fair, transparent and timely global access to preventative tools, equipment and materials for testing. Reporting for the newsroom, Neil Marks.
At the opening of the 10th sitting since the National Assembly was convened in August, Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, had cause to caution members of Parliament on issues relating to dress code and their conduct in the House. This caution comes with Nadir serving as a new Speaker and with several parliamentarians serving for the first time. The Assembly has been meeting daily for more than a week now to debate and consider the 2020 budget estimates of expenditure, and Speaker Nadir on Tuesday had cause to stand twice in the House to bring order to the proceedings as parliamentarians erupted in loud exchanges.
We've had at least 2 instances where the chair and a member have had exchanges, causing the speaker to stand. Secondly, the issue of dress code has been raised. Our handbook for parliamentarians does address several of these, including displays in the National Assembly and the format of wear and mild colors. Third, we have a number of other issues with respect to the across the floor talk. Our convention center is acoustically designed to amplify our voices. So those of us with loud voices, we may have to tone down the volume a bit because it will appear as if we are shouting. And if 4 or 5 of us shout, it will send a bad example to the nation with respect to how we conduct the business.
More news ahead. Stay tuned. This is the newsroom. The Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, says a petroleum task force will soon be set up and will explore the possibilities of bringing natural gas to shore as the administration advances its plans to diversify and expand power supply. The working group will focus on the enhancement of the legal framework, capacity building of key institutions, and project management. The task force will comprise members from key agencies. The costs of consultations and logistics for the group has been allocated in the budget, Bharat told the National Assembly on Wednesday. Over 33,000 Guyanese have signed up to take online courses offered by prestigious universities around the world through a partnership with the Ministry of Education, Coursera, and the Commonwealth of Learning. Over 700 who took the courses have graduated. More from Neil Marks.
The sign-up to the Ministry of Education's upskill venture has been phenomenal, with over 33,000 from across the country, young and old, signing up to the various courses. Many of them who completed courses graduated on Tuesday when a Caribbean-wide graduation ceremony was held online. Minister of Education Priya Manikchand said the Commonwealth of Learning and the Coursera Workers Recovery Program holds deep implications for Guyana.
As a developing nation, currently situating itself to maximize the potential of our recent oil discoveries and our other strategic initiatives, the quality of our human capital is critically important. COVID-19 has displaced many individuals, and we're still grappling with widespread implications of the pandemic, as well as a brutal and notoriously extended elections period. This program is timely and ideal, as it cushions the effects of the pandemic by enabling our citizens to acquire and in some cases strengthen a wide range of skill sets that build Guyana's capacity to enhance our future output. Where many might have remained dormant, awaiting a return to a more productive state of affairs, our registrants are now actively engaged in a multiplicity of upskilling courses.
Manikchand said evidence of the thirst of Guyanese to upskill and retool can be seen in the fact that 33,500 persons signed up and 709 graduated after launching the program just over 2 weeks ago.
Kudos to Coursera for demonstrating such corporate responsibility and leadership by facilitating this initiative. This serves as a testament to the good things that can emerge even in the face of such a highly impactful pandemic. On behalf of all Guyanese people, we applaud your efforts. We thank you dearly.
Manikchand said the ministry is now engaged in ensuring participation from individuals in remote riverine and hinterland locations. As she said, opportunities such as this must serve all citizens equally. Reporting for the newsroom, Neil Marks.
A so far unidentified man of East Indian descent who was struck down in a hit-and-run accident succumbed to his injuries in the high-dependency unit of the Georgetown Public Hospital. He was nursing severe head injuries after the accident on the Success East Coast Demerara Public Road on Tuesday night. Police headquarters in a statement noted that the man was walking in the corner of the road when he was struck down by a speeding burgundy-colored Toyota Premio car at around 20:15. He was picked up by paramedics in an unconscious condition and taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he later died. Investigations are ongoing. The financial, weather and bird reports along with sport are next. Stay tuned. Welcome back now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some football news. As the Guyana Football Federation prepares for upcoming international engagements featuring the senior national men's team, the discussion around team selection, especially in a challenging COVID-19 setting, is once again trending in the football fraternity. More in this report. The Golden Jaguars are down for a busy opening half of 2021 with FIFA World Cup qualifiers and participation in the CONCACAF Gold Cup on the horizon. The predicament, if ever there was one, is that the COVID-19 restrictions imposed in Guyana have prevented local-based players from training, thereby putting them at a disadvantage when compared to foreign-based players, some of whom have recently resumed competitive action. President of the Guyana Football Federation, Wayne Ford, commenting on matters regarding selection, said the challenges are not unique to Guyana. He said, and I quote, "All things being equal, 2021 will be a rather exciting year for the Golden Jaguars. I am fully aware of how motivated every player within the existing pool is and how determined they all are to make the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualification and Gold Cup squad. The challenges that we will face in naming the final squad will be no different from what many of our Caribbean sister nations will have to confront as well. End quote. Ford said he has every confidence in head coach Marzio Maximo and his technical support staff and expects to see a final list that reflects the established selection guidelines and is also consistent with goals the Federation has set itself for both tournaments. He said, and I quote, "I wish to encourage each player within the national team pool to consider himself eligible for a selection and be prepared to work hard and compete for those coveted spots." End quote. Earlier this week, the former Golden Jaguars player Verlin Mills opined that the coaching staff should seek to enlist the services of those players who are currently engaged actively. Though difficult, Mills still hopes that local players can find a way in the squad on the basis of past pedigree and current fitness level. Prior to COVID-19 restrictions, local players had regular sessions at the training facility at Providence. The World Cup qualifiers, initially slated for October-November 2020, have been shifted to March 2021, while the Gold Cup preliminaries are set for July 2021. Reporting for Newsroom, I'm Avinash Ramzan. The government has committed to building 3 multi-purpose sport facilities, one each in regions 2, 6 and 10, and according to Sport Minister Charles Ramson Jr., they will be of world-class standard. President of the Guyana Boxing Association, Steve Ninval, is hoping that the sport of boxing, which has given the country its lone Olympic medal, is catered for at these facilities. Akim Green reports.
Guyana has been the creme de la creme of Caribbean boxing, and Steve Ninval wants to sustain such dominance, and part of such is expanding to harness more talent. For such, he hopes that boxing gyms are a part of the proposed new facilities and there is more international exposure for young boxers.
We also would like to see much more overseas exposure for all disciplines of boxing, being the referee, judges, the coaches, the boxers too. And also a priority of ours at this time is to have a proper home for boxing. We would like to see in the 3 facilities that are being built, that are earmarked to be built, we'd like to see at least a part of that being put aside for boxing.
As it regards to keeping its boxers in shape for potentially a busy start of 2021, Ninval said it's difficult due to COVID-19 precautionary measures, but still expects the boxers to be competent challengers.
We have plans in order to keep the boxers fit, but we could only do what the mandates relating to the curbing of the spread of COVID-19, what it dictates. At this time, we still cannot have any form of serious activity in the sports other than basic training going on. And this is not unique to Guyana alone. This is right across the Caribbean. So the fear is not that we will have persons who will, or countries that will turn up being our competitors way out front of us. In Jamaica, it's the same thing. In Trinidad, it's the same thing, and so forth. So there's no international activity in boxing right now, straight across the Caribbean.
There is still little optimism that the association can hold at least one tournament before the year concludes, but said a definitive decision will be made if the Ministry of Health gives the go-ahead.
We have to take guidance from whatever the Ministry of Health and by extension the government of Guyana says. It's right now, it's not about what we would like. You know, we got to follow the guidelines. So as much as we would want to have something done before the end of the year, it all has to do with whatever direction and guidance we get from the ministry. And if that's the case, if we get that, let we do something, hold something local, just a local tournament to get the boxers and the referees and everybody else refreshed.
In the interim, the JB has engaged in numerous online training sessions for the referees. For the Newsroom, Akim Green.
We tell you now that England's women took a 2-0 lead in a 5-match T20 series against West Indies women, winning by 47 runs on Wednesday. England recovered from a wobbly 96 for 6 in the 15th over to post what turned out to be a commanding 151 for 8. Sarah Glenn made 26 and Amy Jones 25 as Shakira Selman and Stephanie Taylor took 2 wickets each. In reply, West Indies were coasting at 72 for 1 in the 12th over, but suffered a dramatic collapse that saw them finishing well short of the target at 104 for 8. Deandra Dottin followed up her first match score of 69 with a top score of 38, while skipper Taylor made 28. Glenn, Sophie Eccleston and Mady Villiers took 2 wickets each. England would look to wrap up the series when match 3 is played on Thursday, while West Indies would look to win to stay alive. Meanwhile, the interim head coach of the West Indies women's team, Andre Coley, indicated at the post-match presser that a lack of intensity brought their downfall in the second T20. He also called on more batters to step up and contribute.
For this format of the game, intent is very important. I mean, we had that early up, and I mean that significant partnership with Deandra and Stefani of 60-odd really kept that momentum going. But during that period in the middle, we actually dipped in terms of our intent and moved away from that intensity around scoring boundaries, and that obviously led to us losing some momentum towards the end. We needed to keep going if we were to keep on pace with the required rate. So a dip in intensity and intent really slowed us down.
One other thing, if I may, quite a disparity in the averages, the batting averages of the likes of DeAndre and Stefani compared to the other rest in the top 6. Are you looking forward in the rest of the series to get more contributions from the other batters in the team?
Sure. Contributions, we have discussed it since we have been here. We have done work around it. A lot of it we have to be realistic about our resources. Our main batters basically are at the top. And we have young players who have potential, but obviously still need to continue to grow and improve. It's really about how they can actually support top order batters. It's going to be key in our side if a couple of players from the top 5 actually bat very deep, and in the event that we need a low order batting, then they would have to support. But because of the lack of depth in the lower order, unfortunately, or the reality is that the bulk of the scoring is really left with about 3 or 4 players. We tell you now that Mumbai Indians rebounded from an opening defeat to beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 49 runs in match 5 of the IPL on Wednesday. Defending champions Mumbai posted 195 for 5 with skipper Rohit Sharma teeing off at the top with 80 off 54 balls. Surya Kumar Yadav chipped in with 47 off 28, showing great form so far in the tournament. Shivam Mavi took 2 for 32 for Kolkata Knight Riders, who were limited to 146 for 9 when the overs finished. Pat Cummings top scored with 33, Dinesh Karthik made 30 and Nitish Rana 24. Bowling for Mumbai, Trent Bolt, James Pattinson, Jasprit Bumrah and Rahul Chahar had 2 wickets each. The IPL will continue tomorrow with Royal Challengers Bangalore. They're up against Kings 11 Punjab at 10 hours. Meanwhile, Mitchell Marsh has become the first player to be ruled out of IPL 2020 because of injury. Marsh hurt his right ankle during Sunrisers Hyderabad's first match of the tournament in September 21 against Royal Challengers Bangalore. West Indies all-rounder Jason Holder has been named as Marsh's replacement. This is the second time in the last 5 years that Marsh has had to abort the tournament because of injury. In 2017, a shoulder problem cost him the entire IPL season for the rising Pune Super Giants. This will be Holder's second stint with the Sunrisers and 4th overall in the IPL. Holder has previously featured for the Chennai Super Kings and the Kolkata Knight Riders. In December 2019, that's the auction for IPL, Holder had put his base price at $100,000 but went unsold more than once. More recently, Holder led the Barbados Tridents in CPL 2020, where they finished 5th in the 6-team table. Holder scored 192 runs at a strike rate of 140 and also picked up 10 wickets at an economy rate of 6.6, while also bowling 4 maidens, the most in the competition. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, newsroom.gy, our Facebook page,
and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramsan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.